again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know? Tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as you saw me go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know? Tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as you saw me go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
Welcome, friends, gathered in the sanctuary, on Zoom, and later on our YouTube channel. It is so good to be together. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Franklin, to the Smoky Mountains of Western North Carolina and Northeast Georgia, and the ancestral land of the Cherokee people. We're a lay-lit congregation of progressive minds and caring connections. My name is Mary Teslo, and I'm delighted to be joined by Ron Erbs as your service leaders this morning. We extend a warm welcome to those who may be visiting with us today for the first time or returning after a while. We're so glad you're with us and look forward to getting to know you better. There'll be an opportunity to introduce yourself later in this service, and you can sign up for our newsletter in the guest book in the foyer. As we gather each Sunday, we take a moment to greet each other on Zoom and here in the sanctuary, affectionately the Zoomies and the Roomies. Roomies, please stand and body your spirit for our wave hello and stay standing for our gathering song. So turn to your right and wave to the camera above the door. There we go. Hi, Zoomie folks. And now our gathering song, hymn 123, Spirit of Life, with a little sign language.
Of
The simple act of connection reminds us that despite our distance, we're all part of one loving community. We appreciate our Sunday service team, Warren, Ben, Edgar, and Penny on Zoom, and Claire for our YouTube channel. Our greeters for Barbara, who's out there greeting as we speak, yay. And for Dana and Karen, who are doing our hospitality. Announcements for the fellowship and the community will start on Zoom. Are there any announcements? As respiratory viruses increase and as the weather cools and the air dries, we encourage everyone to consider vaccinations and joining us on Zoom if you're not feeling well. We also have supplies at the entry and a reminder that we request anyone testing positive or significantly exposed to contact our president, Jude Lowry. Our fellowship is a light for liberal religion in the mountains that values diversity and the richness it brings to our community. Our celebration of diversity is reflected in the variety of our Sunday services. In addition to different topics, our service sequence and length sometimes varies. We hope today's service enriches your journey of discovery. This morning, as we begin Native American Heritage Month and look forward to Veterans Day on November 11th, we gather to remember two remarkable expressions of courage during World War II. The Unitarian Service Committee in war-torn Europe and the Navajo Code Talkers in the Pacific Theater. Both used sacred gifts to protect human life and dignity in humanity's darkest hour. In different lands speaking different languages, they shared one truth, that our deepest gifts are meant to serve life itself. Hi, come in, please. We light this chalice in honor of those who served with extraordinary courage. In the Coral Islands of the Pacific, young Navajo Marines spoke the language of their grandmothers, Diné Bazad, into battlefield radios. Each transmission carried not just military coordinates, but the resilience of a people, a beauty of a tongue that colonizers could not break because they could not understand it. Across the Atlantic in the shadow of Vichy France and Nazi Germany, Unitarian Service Committee workers whispered different coordinates, addresses of safe houses, times of departure, names of contacts who could be trusted. They forged documents, bribed officials, and walked refugees through mountain passes in the night. Code talkers and code makers, warriors and rescuers, indigenous men and interfaith humanitarians, all understanding that freedom is not free and that love demands we risk everything. Our opening hymn is number 121, We'll Build a Land.
We'll
The Unitarian Service Committee volunteers who built networks of rescue across occupied Europe with forged papers, the Chalice Code, hidden routes, and acts of creative defiance shepherded refugees to safety. Artists, intellectuals, children, families, anyone fleeing Nazi persecution. They embodied the fierce belief that every life holds infinite worth. Reverend Kim Kutzmark is the pastor of UU Church of Fresno, California. We join his sermon where he shares this story.
The big question of the morning is, how did that chalice and flame get to be combined into the modern symbol of Unitarian Universalism? For that answer, we have to go back to Europe. We have to go back to some 500 years after Jan Hus was burned at the stake by an oppressive regime. We have to go back to January of 1933. Adolf Hitler is appointed Chancellor of Germany and moves quickly to consolidate and centralize his power. Within 3 months of gaining office, Hitler was granted by the government broad authority to act with impunity, claiming the country was under attack by internal enemies of the state. He curtailed individual liberties, suppressed opposition parties, arrested and killed his rivals. And within 4 months, Hitler was a de facto dictator, and he began construction of the first concentration camps for the opposition and those he defined as the unwanted others. 6 years later, 1939, Hitler's Nazi army spread into Poland and World War II began. By 1940, Nazism in alliance with the fascism of Italy and Spain controlled most of Europe, an occupation that put anyone deemed as other at terrible, terrible risk. In response, the Unitarians in the United States created a new rescue and relief organization, the Unitarian Service Committee, whose mission, writes Don Hotchkiss, was to assist Eastern Europeans, among them Unitarians as well as Jews and other threatened minorities who needed to escape Nazi persecution. The Reverend Dr. Charles Joy was named Executive Director of the Unitarian Service Committee. Dan Hotchkiss writes that Reverend Joy operated tirelessly out of Lisbon, Portugal, the only open port in Europe and the main destination for refugees fleeing Nazism and fascism. Reverend Joy oversaw an amazing secret network of couriers and agents who snuck refugees to freedom, from country to freedom. As the Pluralism Project notes, the Unitarian Service Committee helped ordinary people, as well as artists, intellectuals, and dissidents escape the Nazis, including many famous authors, scientists, and politicians. Now, important to our story, that same year that the Unitarian Service Committee was created, in 1940, an Austrian artist by the name of Hans Deutsch arrived in Portugal. Now, Hans Deutsch had been living in Paris, where he drew and published satirical cartoons of Adolf Hitler. Now, dictators aren't fans of comedy. And when the Nazis invaded France, Hans Deutsch had to flee for his life, and he eventually ended up as a refugee in Lisbon, Portugal, with thousands of others. And it was there in 1941 that Hans Deutsch met Reverend Charles Joy. Hans Deutsch was impressed with the rescue work of the Unitarian Service Committee, and especially by how many Unitarians were willing to risk their own lives to save others. In a letter that Hans Deutsch wrote, he told Reverend Joy, quote, "There is something that urges me to tell you how much I admire your utter self-denial and readiness to serve, to sacrifice all, your time, your health, your well-being, to help, help, help. If your kind of life is a profession of your faith, this Unitarian religion is one to which even a godless fellow like myself can say wholeheartedly, yes." Reverend Joy asked Deutsch to create a symbol that they could use in this rescue work, a symbol of hope, to assure the refugees that they were in good hands as they traveled to safety in a network much like the Underground Railroad. Dan Hotchkiss writes, quote, "The USC, the Unitarian Service Committee, was a new and unknown organization in 1941. This was a special challenge, if you think about it, in that cloak and dagger world of international rescue, where establishing trust quickly across barriers of language, nationality, and faith could mean the difference between life and death. Disguises, signs, and countersigns, and midnight runs across the guarded borders were the means of freedom in those days. The Unitarian Service Committee also often needed to provide official-looking safe passage papers for dissidents who had none. Those documents needed to fool the police and border officials by making them think that the dissident had been given official permission to move freely from country to country. Joy asked Deutsch to create a symbol for these papers, quote, "to make them look official, to give dignity and importance to them, and at the same time to symbolize the spirit of our work. When a document may keep a person out of jail or give a person standing with governments and police, it is essential that it look important," end of quote. Thus, continues Hotchkiss, Hans Deutsch made his lasting contribution to the Unitarian Service Committee, and by extension, as it turned out, to Unitarian Universalism. With a pencil and ink, he drew a chalice with a flame. This chalice was, wrote Reverend Joy, quote, "the kind of chalice which the Greeks and Romans put on their altars, the holy oil burning in it as a symbol of helpfulness and sacrifice." The oil burning in it, a symbol of helpfulness and sacrifice. The flaming chalice design was made into a seal for papers and a badge for agents moving refugees to freedom. The Pluralism Project picks up the story. The Unitarian Service Committee first began using that symbol in French refugee camps, and soon it was understood throughout Europe that anyone carrying a note with a flaming chalice could be trusted. Sympathizers would draw the symbol of the flaming chalice in the dirt outside their home as a signal to those in need of a place to stay. It was a light shining in the night, a light of safety, a light leading to freedom. And thousands of people were rescued by the Unitarian Service Committee and by the symbol of the flaming chalice. Don Hotchkiss says, the story of Hans Deutsch reminds us that the symbol of a flaming chalice stood in the beginning for a life of service. Deutsch designed the flaming chalice, and get this, when he designed it, he had never even seen a Unitarian or a Universalist church. He had never heard a Unitarian or a Universalist sermon. What he had seen was faith in action. People who were willing to risk all for others in a time of urgent need. That, dear ones, is the symbol on the front wall of our sanctuary. And that is the symbol that we light each Sunday at the beginning of our service. This is the symbol that speaks to us from times of tyranny. This is the symbol our Unitarian Universalist faith calls us to embody, a symbol of resistance, inclusion, liberty, and love. And can we share those four words together? Resistance, inclusion, liberty, and love. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
The Navajo Code Talkers carried their sacred language into battle, a language that had survived centuries of oppression. On distant Pacific islands, their words became an unbreakable shield transmitted through radio waves, protecting thousands of lives. They honored their ancestors while defending a nation that had not always honored them. This documentary shares their story.
The year is 1942. The Second World War is at its height, and since Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, American strikes on outposts in the Pacific have increased. Japanese and German forces were tapping into American military communication lines intently, but their decrypting methods weren't yielding any results anymore. Why? All messages were being encrypted by Navajo Code Talkers. You see, codifying messages is standard practice during wartime. What wasn't standard practice was ciphering a Native American language that had no written alphabet to begin with. Navajo was one such language. You're watching Explore Mode, and today we're learning about Navajo Code Talkers. First things first, what are Code Talkers? Well, Code Talkers were people recruited by the military during wartime to encrypt messages using a little-known language. The term is usually used in reference to Native American Code Talkers who served in both the Second and First World War, transmitting tactical messages using an encoded version of their native tongue. The first Amerindian language used as code in the First World War was Choctaw, the language of a Native American tribe originally from the southeastern United States. 19 Choctaw soldiers joined American infantry forces and passed on messages using their native tongue. The language was so foreign to enemy forces that stories tell of Germans tapping into American communications and thinking that they were using a special device to record their voices underwater. But by the time the Second World War came, many Japanese scholars had already studied Native American languages, so the US had to think of other options. That's where Philip Johnston comes in. The story goes that Philip Johnston, the son of missionaries who worked on a Navajo reservation, was flipping through the pages of the newspaper when he saw that American troops were looking for a newer and harder to decipher Native American language-based code. They were already working with Comanches, Choctaws, Hopis, Cherokees, among other Native American languages. Having grown up listening and speaking Navajo, Johnson knew it was the perfect language to encrypt the Marine Corps' messages. Why? At the time, Navajo was an unwritten language, which means there was no alphabetical representation of its sounds. That made it almost impossible to transliterate. It could only be interpreted by native speakers. The recruitment process was complicated. The Marine Corps had to find Navajo men who were both bilingual and met the physical requirements to join them. Some code talkers volunteered to participate in the program. Others were drafted, and many falsified documents because they were underage, some as young as 15. Apart from participating in boot camp, the men had to develop the code themselves. Literal translations were useful but easier to decipher, so they had to come up with a new method. The Marine Corps decided to use substitution instead. There were two types of codes, Type 2 codes and Type 1 codes. Type 2 codes were direct translations. Type 1 codes worked with substitution. Coders assigned a Navajo word for each letter of the alphabet and spelled out entire messages to each other. So for example, spelling out the word code would work like this. They replaced the letter C with mosi, the Navajo word for cat. The letter O was replaced with nezda, the Navajo word for owl. The D would be tle-tae, or dog in Navajo. And E would be ze, or elk in Navajo. Mosi nezda tle-tae ze, code. They also created special code words for certain implements of war. For example, the code word for a patrol plane was gagi, or crow in Navajo. A minesweeper was called sha'a, the Navajo word for beaver. One of the reasons that made Navajo a difficult language to decipher, apart from the fact that very few people spoke it at the time, is the fact that it's a tonal language. That means that differences in pitch and inflection can change the meaning of a word. Navajo has 4 tones for its vowels: low, high, rising, and falling. Other tonal languages in the world include Chinese, Vietnamese, and Thai. The Navajo Code Talkers memorized all substitutions during training, and according to the CIA, they were able to encode, send, and decode a message in just 2 minutes during drills. The Navajo Code had proven to be a success. Roughly 400 Navajos participated in the Code Talker program, and their efforts were key to the success of Allied forces in crucial moments, such as the Battle of Iwo Jima, where they sent over 800 messages back and forth without a single mistake. Major Howard Connor, who was the signal officer of the Code Talkers at Iwo Jima, is quoted as saying, "Were it not for the Navajos, the Marines would never have taken Iwo Jima." Joey Kiyomiya was a Navajo soldier fighting in the Philippines when Japan took over in 1942. He was captured and imprisoned. Once the Japanese figured out he was Navajo, they sent him to a prison in Japan and demanded him to try to decode the messages they had intercepted. But it was impossible. Kiyomiya spoke Navajo, but he wasn't trained in Navajo code. To him, the messages were as confusing as they were to the Japanese. Of course, his captors were not pleased with his performance. Kiyomiya endured months of torture, but he not only survived life as a POW in Japan, he also survived the Bataan Death March and the bombing of Nagasaki. Kiyomiya is quoted as saying, "I salute the Code Talkers, and even if I knew about their code, I wouldn't tell the Japanese." The Code Talkers returned to America quietly. No one but their peers knew of the critical role they played in the war, mainly because the program remained classified until 1968. Up until that time, the code was still used to relay classified information during the Korean and Vietnam War. The first public recognition of the Code Talkers would come decades later in 2001, when then-President George W. Bush held a ceremony honoring 21 Code Talkers with gold and silver medals. 3 of the remaining Code Talkers were honored again in 2017 by President Donald Trump. The Navajo Nation today extends 27,673 square miles, covering areas in Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. 250,000 Navajo people live in it, and they have their own flag and presidential elections. According to a 2010 census, 170,000 people speak Navajo in their homes. However, many fear the language will eventually be replaced by English, as the number of fluent speakers is dwindling. As for Code Talkers, few are still alive today, but their legacy and their service will live on. If you liked this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you want to explore even more with us, make sure to hit the subscribe and bell.
We are grateful to know that ordinary people, when called, perform extraordinary acts. The code talkers and the rescue workers were farmers' sons, teachers, artists, and students. They became what the moment required. And they were not alone. During the Nazi occupation, Norwegians used paper clips, invented in Norway as a symbol of resistance started by teachers who wore them on their lapels as a sign of solidarity and unity. Just like the paperclip binds papers together, it was a subtle, affordable, yet defiant act of resistance against occupiers and local Nazi authorities. Today, the paperclip resistance has been revived here at home. You can find it at the paperclipresistance.com. I'm wearing a paperclip, and there is a bowl of paperclips at the sanctuary entry. There are also pamphlets about the UU Chalice history. If anyone on Zoom would like a pamphlet, just let Penny know, and we'll be sure you get one. We're also grateful for the diverse gifts of time, talent, and treasure that are given by so many in love and hope. Please give generously to the life and work of this beloved community. Now, please join me in the dedication of our gifts. Gifts given in love and hope continue a cycle of love and hope. Thank you for your support. All financial gifts are appreciated. There's an offering plate at the sanctuary entry where there are also stamped addressed envelopes to mail. Donations are also welcome electronically, including a PayPal link on our website and in the UU View. There's also our celebration jar here and a basket for our coffee hour donations downstairs in Celebration Hall. As we prepare for joys and concerns, please know they will be edited out before being posted online. For visitors, it's a joy to welcome you this morning. If you would like to introduce yourself, please raise your hand and unmute. Let's see if there's anyone on Zoom first. We're wonderful, thank you. Now in the sanctuary, is there anyone who'd like to introduce themselves? And we'll wait for the microphone to come up so that our Zoomies and everyone can hear you. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Now, as we open our hearts to one another, if you carry a joy, a celebration, a piece of good news, let us rejoice with you. If you carry a concern, a grief, a worry, or a pain, let us share the burden. If you'd like, you're welcome to share a brief special joy or concern, and I'll drop a pebble into the water. We'll begin with those on Zoom, and we'll follow with those in the sanctuary and invite sanctuary folks to line up by the piano. So do we have anyone? We are good on Zoom. A last final pebble as we remember those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence in our hearts. We now invite you into a minute of silence. You can choose to meditate, pray, reflect on something you've heard here today, or simply sit silently in community with others, and I'll bring you back with the chimes. And now Ron will share his original poem titled Call to Duty, and he'll close the service.
The title of this poem is Called to Duty. Today I call you to duty, to recognize, remember, forever thanking 432 Navajo Code Talkers, young boys. World War II soldiers, sworn to secrecy, humble, boys weaving threads of code words, precision that of intriguingly woven spider webs, messages radioed from battlefields of hammering gunfire, moments of fear challenging accuracy of encrypted messages, surrounded by the blood of fighting battalions. Navajo language, new military weapon, foreign to Japanese cryptographers. 26 English alphabet letters used to devise list of Navajo words, translated from common English words, periodically updated, committed to memory, more than 450 words. New words to be invented. No Navajo words for bomber planes, tanks, submarines. Grenade was potato because it could be held and thrown. Tank was a tortoise, moved slowly on the land. The Navajo language, history reveals efforts to suppress, became the people's language, military secret weapon, proven to be unbroken, bringing freedom, selflessly brought to you by 432 Navajo boys, became strong young men called to duty.
The closing song.
Yes. And now the closing song, please. As we extinguish this chalice, we do not extinguish the light of their example. The Unitarian Service Committee volunteers who built networks of rescue across occupied Europe with forged papers, the Code of Chalice, hidden routes, and acts of creative defiance. They shepherded refugees to safety. Artists, intellectuals, children's, family, anyone fleeing Nazi prosecution. They embodied the fierce belief that every life holds infinite worth. The Navajo Code Talkers, who carried their sacred language into battle, a language that had survived centuries of oppression. On distant Pacific islands, their words became unbreakable shield, transmitted through radio waves, protecting thousands of lives. They honored their ancestors while defending a nation that had not always honored them. May the light we carry honor those who came before. May we be people who, when history demands heroes, step forward. May we be worthy of our sacrifice. Thank you for joining us today. We know you may have had other options to spend your Sunday morning. We're deeply grateful that you chose to be part of this community with us. Following the service, those on Zoom will be invited to continue the conversation, and those here in the sanctuary are invited to a potluck downstairs in Celebration Hall. Visitors, some of you are more extroverted members and friends. Will you please use the red cups so that we can find you folks and those who we would love to chat with. Next week, Mary Teslow will explore connections between Buddhism and Unitarian Universalism with a message titled Intention, the Seeds We Plant Within. Please rise in body and spirit. Thank you, Mary. Mm-hmm. Those in the sanctuary may choose to hold hands. Our covenant, please.
So we'll wait till they have their hands clicked. All right. We've got it.
Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and the community is its goal. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Go in peace. The service is ended.